Welcome back to World Literature Notes, and today we are talking about bone. And I don't mean bone like the biological structure, although no shade against those. Kind of interesting if you think about it, like the legs of an insect or actually like its rib cage. Anyway, this is Bone, the acclaimed graphic novel by Jeff Smith, and I just wanted to highlight it today and give it a little bit of love. On this channel, we're talking about the great works of world literature, novels and plays and epic poems from across the centuries, whose philosophical richness and mythological moral merits can hopefully improve our lives and give us guidance in the strange, mysterious realm of the 21st century digital mess that we find ourselves in now. And ever since I started reading again some 2 or 3 years ago and read through like dozens of these great works, Bone stands out. I think it can go toe to toe with most of what we call these classic books. As far as the richness of its themes, the psychological complexity, the strength of its characters, the entertaining qualities, everything in between. I first read this story when I was a little kid, right? And I think, from what I remember, I read it all the way through. But when I returned to it as an adult, I guess it had been so long that I basically forgot at least the major plot points almost in their entirety. So that as I reread it as an adult, every scene I read was like jogging my memory, so that I then remembered that part when I saw it again, but I didn't remember anything enough for it to like spoil the story for me. So I was basically experiencing it a second time blind, so to speak, like that thing we all wish we could do where you read like your favorite story again for the first time, but with that layer of uncovering distant memories of it from my childhood, which was such a powerful experience because that same theme of these eerily present but not present childhood memories unveiling and revealing themselves as the story goes along is also like one of the main themes of the story. And so while on the surface level you have this pleasant, pastoral, pretty child-friendly Saturday morning comic, the tone, like sometimes it's literally just the tone, is like eerily and subtly pointing towards these deeper, heavier mythological themes that slowly start to rise to the surface as the story goes along, so that by the time you get to like the final chapters and all the plot points and revelations are coming to fruition, you start to see just what a meticulously, thoughtfully planned out story this was, and it just becomes like awe-inspiring to watch how it plays out. One of the final revelations is at the same time like a joke and exploration of like one of these main characters' egos and flaws, and it's just such an amazing story from start to finish. There's ways in which like some of these other stories that we often call classics pretty much don't even hold a candle to this. 1984 ain't got shit. Each character who on this like looks like some Mickey Mouse kind of discarded design is like an entire world in themselves. You've got Phony Bone, who, by the way, I just love the balls on Jeff Smith to have two main characters with such similar names. You've got Phone Bone, who is like the main guy, but that's a different guy than Phony Bone, who is basically like this ambitious, entrepreneurial, manipulative, aspiring tyrant who, by all accounts, is basically just a bad person. You know, we learn later on that this drive and this greed does come from like ultimately a place of love, of wanting to provide for his family. But nevertheless, his antics are like so like openly immoral, yet you're also like rooting for the guy the whole time. time. And so it's like this Scrooge character, but presented as like a good guy at times. And the way that those shortcomings of his inform like really deep conflicts, while on the surface level it's such a fun and funny and phony slapstick adventure with a bunch of antics, certainly at first. Then you have Smiley Bone, who's like some version of like a Shakespearean fool, on the surface level kind of like a gag character playing off certain things for laughs and making these clever puns. But his attitude and the tone of his dialogue sort of implies that he's got like some deeper understanding of what's happening that isn't quite being revealed to the audience, and his resignation to just kind of like lay back and laugh it all off. Really, really interesting. And then you got Phone Bone and Thorn and Granny and the Villagers. And yeah, if you haven't read this or you haven't read it since you were a child, I mean, you're basically missing out. This is one of the greatest comics of all time. It would be, in my opinion, one of the greatest recent novels of all time if you counted it in that category. It is what Disney should be and should have been. Bone is a Saturday morning cartoon turned mythopoetic epic masterpiece. Subscribe for more videos about literature, and I hope you have a wonderful day.